All right. Hello and welcome. Good evening. Good afternoon. This is Doyle here. I'm going to be talking about what I call the expeditionary force sessions. It's for digital challenger companies, and we've got a lot going on right now. And we want to be able to focus in on what's really important for these companies and how we can actually help them get to where they want to go. So it's a multi-part sessions that I'm going to be giving over the next couple of weeks as well, and culminating in a masterclass coming up, what I call the Digital Expedition Force Masterclass, where you're going to learn a whole lot of different skills about what you need to know, what's really important, and how to kind of focus in on what's going on and that sort of thing. So it's the expeditionary force sessions for digital challenger companies, right? Brands that want to adapt and ones who are really sort of focusing in on the future and that sort of thing. So it's really important that we get this right and that we get sort of the pieces in place for the businesses as well. So I'm going to go over 4 concepts as we get into this. Just make sure my screen's sharing properly here. And I think I've got this, got the iPad all hooked up and everything. And good to go. All right, so I'm going to be talking about 4 different things, right? Number 1 is what I call the rogue wave. The rogue wave. And number 2 is what I call the airport terminal. And please, if you have any questions at all, stop and ask them along the way. I can't actually see the questions. I'm actually going live on Zoom right now, and I can't see the questions. I might have to pull up another device going forward. But if you can ask them, just hashtag replay or live, and I'll answer them as quickly as possible as I can. The number 3 is the systems. The systems. And number 4 is the expedition. All right. Like my messy writing? All right. Let's get into this. So the first one is the rogue wave, and I've got a few things. Don't you just love these giant sticky notes? I'm like a big fan of these. They really sort of do the job and help me sort of collect the ideas and that sort of thing and plan things out. But the rogue wave, right? And what exactly is that? It's basically an understanding of how do we put these pieces together. Why is that so thick? Can't seem to thin that out. It's going like that. Make that small. The rogue wave, that looks a little bit better. All right, so we've got 3 variables here that the economy is working through right now, or we're working through as businesses, right? We've got the economy. We have people, that's us, right? Humans that are working in the area, that are doing business, trying to connect business, trying to get things going. And then obviously we have little Mr. or Miss Virus down here. Now, what is a rogue wave? Well, it's a wave that occurs, something that we really don't predict and something that we don't actually see or have the ability to predict. And why is that? Well, we have these 3 items coming together. And if you've sort of looked at sort of the physics side of things, if you have waves that combine together, you actually get what would be considered a very, very strong wave. And in this case, this rogue wave has really kind of obviously impacted a lot of different companies. So we've got the virus, right? It's an existential threat. It's, slowing things down, and we're seeing sort of a ripple effect as we move out from here. Actually, I should have done that in a different color so we can see the effect. And then we have the economy, right? The economy again is moving outwards as well, in these waves of recession and these waves of purchasing and buying and all that kind of stuff is coming together as well, sending those shifts across the economy as well. And then finally, we've got people, right? Well, what do people do? We talk about leadership, we talk about fear, we talk about uncertainty, we talk about chaos, we talk about, social media, for example, and how that actually works and why, that's creating these waves as well. So it's creating these waves also, right? And if we look at this, we can see that there's a point. Let me put this in a new color. Let's make it blue. We can see, and obviously it's not to scale, but we can see there's a point where the three waves, whoops, line up. All right, and obviously I drew that just for a fact, but the fact is that that's the rogue wave that we're seeing now. It's how do we actually put this in place? How do we actually understand those different pieces? And if we understand that, oh, well, this is something that's coming, we can actually see about it, we can actually deal with it, then that allows us to actually be able to do something properly at the other end as well. So we have, again, the virus, we have the economy, we have the people that are all kind of doing our thing and getting things done and everything else like that. They meet in the middle, and this is where the rogue waves, and this is what hits us. This is what has been hitting us as well. So it's really important to understand that, so we can decide, how do we shift? How do we, surf? Do we want to continue to surf that wave, or do we want to kind of move on and go on from there as well? So something to really consider down the road as well. All right, so moving on from there, we have what I call the airport terminal. Now, because of this rogue wave, right, it places us in a place that it's very uncomfortable. It's not necessarily a place that we want to be. So what do we need to do to sort of overcome that? And we can look at a couple things. The airport terminal. Now, what I say by that is that what do we typically use an airport terminal for? Right? It's a transition from one state to another. You're traveling from one place to another. And if you look at it like that, what that is actually called is called liminal space, right? And this is that point where we need to understand that how can we actually make a transition. So if we're talking about where we are right now, where we are, and where we need to be, right? So where we are right now, where do we need to be? Over here. What's this space called? That's called the liminal space. And that's that transition point that says, this is where we need to make a difference. This is where we can actually perhaps reorganize, we can pivot, we can shift, we can understand what's going on. But it's really an important place to know that this is normal, right? We need to recognize that we go from transactional, where most businesses are at right now, transactional, okay, to transition. This is in the middle, to move us out here to transformational. Transformational. That's a long word. But that is the space that we're in. So most of us are in this space over here, right? We're in this space, the transitional space. So what that means is that we have to put a plan in place now to get us to our destination. We've arrived at the airport. We got there by the means we've typically been using, right? It's been a transactional type operation. We know that we're there. How do we get to that next step? And these are some of the things that I'm going to be talking about as I get into this as well. And then it's between knowing and not knowing, and how do we actually deal with this thing, and how do we move on from that as well. Now, one thing that we really need to look at, and one thing that we really need to recognize is do we have a system, right? What's really important here in terms of what we do and how we do it, and even when we do it. So let's talk quickly about a system, right? And what's really important in the digital space is to have these three critical things that you must do now in order for your business to survive and thrive, right? How do we get to this transition space? How do we actually survive this transition space? If we don't have these three critical things, these three parts of our system, how are we actually going to make it work? And that's, again, what I really want to talk about. So the three elements that are super important today. we need to define your brand value. All right, what are you about? All right, can you surprise and delight? Can you create something that's unique? Can you create something that's memorable? All right, the second part is an experience. And we've seen these as we get into the effects of what's going on right now. We see these items and we see them. Okay, the people that are able to create that brand value, they're the ones that are connecting. The ones that are able to create that experience, they're the ones that are connecting as well. And think about it this way. Can you create a remarkable experience for your audience that's worth remembering? Right? Something doesn't necessarily mean simple, but what it means is, can we do something remarkable? Can we create an experience that's worth remembering? And then the last one is your digital delivery. Right? What do we need there? We need to be delivering anytime and any place. So if you're looking at competing in the digital economy, which we all are, we're being pushed there now. If you've been sort of catching up the last 20 years, now's the chance. Now you're in this transitional phase right here, but we need these three elements to build our foundation, to build our digital foundation, so that things will actually work and we'll actually able to provide to our customers. So again, look at how do we deliver our brand value? How do we create a digital experience worth remembering? And the last one, how do we deliver our product digitally? And again, sometimes this might be a little bit outside the box, but how is your business actually enabled now? And what are you actually doing in this case to be able to do that? Think of it this way. If you look at a restaurant, okay, what can a restaurant do? It can provide food. It can be a sit-down area. It can, provide that entertainment as well. But what if you could actually combine those in the digital environment, in the digital economy, right? So instead of just providing the food, how could you, in this case of lockdown and that sort of thing, how could you actually provide that as an experience? Could you have a chef, that sort of thing, being able to provide a show for you? Would you be able to deliver those ingredients instead of just delivering the food to your customer? Would you be able to provide those ingredients so that people could then create their own dishes at home at the same time as your chef shows you? So could you create brand value in terms of delivering of that food? Could you create that experience worth remembering in terms of teaching and showing and telling how to actually produce that? And can you deliver that anytime, any place, and that sort of thing? I kind of call it, if you had HelloFresh and Uber and Jamie Oliver or some celebrity chef as well, if you could actually combine all these three concepts, those are the businesses that are going to succeed. The ones that aren't limited by their opening hours, or not limited by how many people can we get in the shop, how many bums can we get on the seats in the restaurant, that sort of thing. So we have to be really cognizant of that. There's lots more to go into that, but this is just a quick overview in terms of what can we do and how can we do it as well. And the last concept I want to talk about is just the expeditionary force. Okay. Now, it's sort of more or less just looking at how do we actually, this is no longer just a story, right? We're not just satisfied with just a story. We're not just satisfied with, oh, well, let's provide that transactional item, right? Let's provide something very specific that we can do. I just seem to have lost the share feed. Let me just see if I can pick this up again. Try this again. All right, there we go. Okay, so the expeditionary force, we're no longer in that story stage. We're no longer in that, let's just do it and provide a transactional type product. We talked about that earlier, right? How do we actually move that transitional point for us, for our business as well? So we need to look at it differently, right? We need to look at it this is an expedition, right? Everybody's going through the same things we are. Everybody's suffering. Everybody's, feeling that they need to pivot or they need to shift or whatever the case may be. So I liken it to an expedition, right? We need to climb up that mountain. Okay. And what do? We have base camps up along the way, and we want to get to this point. All right. My nice little smiley face guy up there, right? So it's not easy. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be a challenge. You have to have processes. You have to have a system in place. You have to be able to understand that it's not just a story, right? How do we actually get you up there? It's going to take a lot of work. There's lots to learn. There's lots to relearn, and there's lots to rethink as well, which is important. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in the same place, and you might not survive, or the business might not survive as well. So think of it differently in terms of, this is not just going to the corner store anymore. This is about preparing your business for the digital economy of 2020, post-COVID-19, right? And we have to realize that that's super important. And we have to have the toolkit. We have to have the strategies. We have to have the tactics. We have to have the understanding of what it is that we actually need to be able to do that. Because if we don't have that, then we're not going to survive. And that's what we need to look at down the way. I do have on the 12th of May, coming up, I've got a web event where I'm going to go into these concepts as well as into a lot more depth, and I've got more coming up. I'm going to be, as I said, talking about these micro lessons in 7 parts over the next 2 weeks. So I'd love you to come join me, pick up some things that might help you along the way. But if you'd like to join in on the masterclass coming up, it's the 12th of May. Go to bit.ly/digital expedition, and you can sign up now. And like I said, join me for 2-3 times a week. I'm going to have these micro lessons, 10-15 minutes kind of thing, just to get a better understanding of some of the concepts. And then I'm going to go through these in detail on the 12th of May as well. All right. So if you can, please register here. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, love to hear what you've got going on. We do have other things as well going on, a WhatsApp group, some other events also. So if you'd like to chat about that, please let me know. And thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this, please share, please like, and please comment as well. All right, so I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And we will see you online.